Remember how when we were kids, we used to look at adults and think, wow, they look so cool. Like, I want to be like that when I grow up. They look so put together. And I can't wait to have that kind of independence where I can just do anything that I want and nobody's going to ask me anything. That was such a cool concept. Until we are now the said adults and we came to realize, oh, child, the ghetto, the ghetto. Why do you think that is? Let's make a case out of this. You have already seen from the title of the video, I called it, if that is what I ended up calling it, adulting is hard. Go figure. Let's talk about it. I'll start by talking about something that we like to call the wheel of balance. You already know of this concept. It's just that it's a very fancy word, but in reality, you already know what you're talking about. So essentially, this is something that a model that they use in personal development to give you like a zoomed out perspective of your life. So it's a circle. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it from. No, you won't. No, you won't. Let me just show you my whiteboard right now. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see that, but so the first sector, let's say, is career. So you're really just climbing the corporate ladder. You're trying to get a job, trying to get stability in your job, trying to get promotions and whatnot. That's career. Those are just a few examples in every sector that I'm about to give. Financial, you're supposed to become financially literate, and you learn how to save, and you learn how to invest, and you learn how to start like getting a house and buying this and that is going to be beneficial to you in the future. Fun and recreation. So it's having leisure time. What do you do? What are your hobbies that we ask each other every other time we're dating or whatnot? Like, what are your hobbies? What do you like to do for fun? Yes, these are the things that bring you joy, essentially. I'm going to say essentially like 17 times. Just take a shot when I'm every essential that I say. Health-wise, this can be physical or it can be mental. So are you exercising? Are you getting in your 10K steps? Are you making sure that you're even having proper hygiene on your side? When it comes to mental health, are we making sure that like you are dealing with stress, with anxiety, with pressure? All of that. I'm just going to give small examples in every little part. Family wise, are you aware how many kids you have? Let's start there. Like, do you know the names of your kids? Do you know their ages? Are you hanging out with your wife? Are you hanging out with your children? Are you hanging out with your sisters? Are you hanging out with the extended family? Then there is the friends. So when was the last time you saw your people? Are you even aware? Do you know whether they still live where you left them? So it's ability to be social. Yeah, essentially, like when it comes to friends and family, it's a more social aspect. So being able to be to make connections with other people, to stay in connection, to be a member of the village. Then we have spiritual. This is why we bring in the whole having a sense of purpose. Are you following or are you pursuing the things that you are meant to do on this earth? When it comes to spirituality, we can also talk about matters faith, that is religion, whichever religion that you are subscribing to, just matters that concern the soul. And then we have finally personal development. This is where now we talk about what we said in last time's video, Maslow's hierarchy, when we were talking about self-actualization, like being the best person, being the best version that you can be. So that is the wheel of balance, which is where we come to see, I don't know if I can find those memes, but I'll put them in here. People talking about how as an adult you're supposed to like make sure that you have gotten your 10K steps and you are you've gotten your 10K steps and you're a good person and you're saying hi to your family and you're supposed to be beating the generational or like ending the generational trauma and still climbing the corporate ladder and just basically these memes are really just talking about how we are meant to meet all these 8 sectors of our lives, to have a balance. So it's called a wheel of balance, to have a balance to all of these things while you are just one person at the end of the day. Let's move to the next chapter, which is the stages of life. Here's the thing. Again, I'm going to refer back to the other video once again from the Maslow's hierarchy video. I remember in the introduction for that one, I talked about how there are different schools of thought in psychology. And that can very much apply also here because the different scholars came up with different theories in the different schools of thought. For example, the one that we're going to talk about today is Erik Erikson. So yes, he talks about psychosocial development. So this is just how we grow and how as we grow, there are different relations that we have with ourselves and other people. like as an extension. There are other people. I'll just give an example. Like, okay, I've forgotten his first name, but he's called Kohlberg. He talks about development in a moral perspective. And then there's Freud, who talks about it in a psychosexual perspective. And then we also have Piaget, if I'm saying it right, Jean Piaget. Is he French? But yeah, he talks about it in a cognitive perspective. So there are different facets, or the different schools of thought have different theories about our development. Because like I have said, you see, this is why we started the wheel of balance, is like I've said, we have different sectors in our lives. So that means that we are developing differently in the said sectors. There you go. There you go. So for Erickson, he had 8 stages, but I will just move a little further down and start where I feel like now this is where things start getting properly hot. Just to mention the first ones, there is trust versus mistrust, and then we have autonomy. You should go and look that up, matter of fact, or we can do another video on that if you like. Let me know. I have no problem. I can do that for you, of course. We have autonomy versus shame and guilt, and then we have initiative versus guilt, and then industry versus inferiority. Now, you see, for these 4 that I have already mentioned, these are more like in the childhood part. Essentially, what usually just happens as we are kids is basically you're just like cruising around, everything is great, you're not really aware of anything that's going on in the world. You just wake up and you watch Cocomelon and you drink milk and life is good. When we get to the preteen, yes, 9 to around 14, this is where now again, this is where like you're being a lot more conscious and being a lot more aware of your personhood, of who you are. Like you've already been told, you're called this and this, you come from this and this family, this is what we usually do in this family. Now that is a part where now the kids start getting, the curiosity already started when you're around 6 or 7. This is when now things are really peaking. When they're around 9 is when you start asking questions like, where do kids come from? Why do we go to church every other day? We're really asking about the overall functionality of the world. Like, why do we do this and why do we do that? For teenagehood, this is the part where we call identity versus role confusion. Now, you're just trying to figure yourself out. Like I've said, your parents have introduced you to this school of thought or to this certain belief, and now you're trying to take up that value system and be like, okay, so does that really define me? Where do I fit in? Which is why a lot of times when we are watching these teen shows, we see how there tends to be a lot of cliques. Have you realized that in high school is when there are the most cliques possible? This is where we have the different characters, the cheerleader, the perfect ones, and the ones who look really good, and then we have the kids who are the nerds, and the kids who are like necessarily, and then there are the kids who are like the losers in the corner who no one ever talks to, and then we have the jocks. Like there are different characters at this specific age, and this is the part where we really try to fit in and to see whether like, does this really suit me? Okay, so that's why we call it identity versus role confusion. And then we get to intimacy versus isolation. This is around like after high school now. So from 19, and here's the thing with this theory is that these stages really mesh into each other. So just because if I say, for example, for intimacy versus isolation, if I say that it starts at 19, say to like 25, 27, it doesn't mean that when you reach 27, the conflict of intimacy versus isolation is over. No, it very much meshes into each other. And sometimes you can even be experiencing one conflict when you're still in another stage. For example, when you move further and we talk about, actually, you know what, I'm taking it too fast. We'll get there and then I'll come back to this. But yeah, when it comes to intimacy versus isolation, it's really being able to form connections with people. It can be platonic bonds, it can be romantic bonds. This is where now you are trying to explore. Basically, this is why they start telling us about, oh, your 20s are for this and that and all of that. So are you going to be able to maintain, which is where we start talking about the topic of adult friendships and being able to have healthy friendships with people, healthy relationships with yourself, and healthy relationships that are romantic as well. There are still other things that are pretty much like a conflict or something that we are trying to resolve in that same age, and that is career-wise. This is where now you are starting, you're in uni, in that age bracket, you're either in uni or also you have progressed and you're now in the entry level of the corporate world. So first of all, you are trying to pick a course that you feel is what you like, is something that you want to pursue, something that you will do for the rest of your life. So after that, after you have picked your course, now you're getting into the job level where it's now the entry level and you're taking internships and you're doing all of that. Okay. The life, the thing is, time don't stop. The time does not wait for no one. So the time is continuing to move. And now we are getting to your late 20s because now you have been working, you have been trying to climb the corporate ladder, so to speak. Now you're entering your 30s. Okay, you're entering your 30s. Let's talk about the bracket of like 30 to 40, which according to the guy, Mr. Man Erickson, he is talking about generativity versus stagnation. This is now where you are getting proper stability. Now you are supposed to have settled down. Like I said, you see, now we are talking about connections in the previous stage. You should have gotten a partner by now. Like the African parents tell you, where is the husband? Where's the husband? Where's your wife? Ha 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 ha. Where's your wife? Yeah, exactly. Ideally, you have gotten married and now you are starting to have kids. So this is why we call it generativity. Like the ability to keep moving, the ability to be productive in that stage. And being productive looks very different in the different sectors that we talked about in the wheel of balance. You follow. You have started now having kids, and then even job-wise, you have definitely, like, you're not now an intern. You're still an intern. You're still not like the one who is the freshest guy in the office. You have gotten a good number of years, and you have started to, again, climbing the corporate ladder is a lifelong kind of thing. You don't stop at 23 to 30. Okay, higher. We're continuing. Now, this is the part where like I said, it gets hot. It gets hotter the whole time. It just, when they say from the frying pan to the stove, that one. So, because we are having kids, I wanted to have another subtopic or a sub-chapter to it and talk about how every stage of parenting is difficult or is hard or it has its own challenges. Number one, you're having the newborn. They're always adorable, that's for sure. Like, they're so cute and everything. But when they start screaming bloody murder for 3 hours in the middle of the night for no reason, you've breastfed them, you've changed them, you've taken a walk with them, you've tried to be like, please don't do this. You've even tried to cry with them and they're still crying, And even for the woman or for the mother, they have to go through the phase of even just getting their body back and recovery and all of that. Then we get to weaning. Weaning is a whole thing by itself. Don't even get me started. I'm very biased because I'm speaking of it as a woman. I've not experienced it, but I've seen it. And I know it's not easy. Then you get to the terrible twos. They like to call them terrible twos because you are running after this child all the time. Ukicheza tu hivi, ukichelewa tu hivi, kunyamaze kwa nyumba, trust and believe, hiyo ni mafuta anakunywa. Hiyo ni sabuni amekula. Hiyo ni mende ameshika na amekuwekea kwa unga yako ya ugali. You better watch out and find out where your child is. Now they get into elementary school. That's great. Now there's some sort of like the independence is starting. Yeah. Now they can wipe their own butt for sure. Now they can like carry their bag. There are some things that they can do. That's amazing. They're not depending on you as much. But at the same time, now you start to think of what? School fees. And that's going to be you for the next how many years? Yeah, there you go. Now we are going through elementary school, middle school. Again, like I said, at the age of 9 years, they start getting curious. Now sorry, why did I point at me? You are the one who is starting to explain to them the whole birds and the bees kind of story and telling them, when mommy and daddy like each other. Yeah, we got you from the supermarket. Yeah. Now you start to explain to them the way you were explained to. It's a cycle. It's a cycle, basically. Now you get to the teenage years where you used to have a very sweet kid who used to write you happy Valentine's, happy birthday every other year. And now your child basically just like hates your guts. Like you breathe and they're like, God, there they go again, being annoying. It's like, what did I even do? You're just trying to keep them alive and to keep them safe. But in reality, they think that you hate them. Now, did I say that this is the application, like this applies to all teenagers? No, but I'm saying this is a common thing that happens. They have passed being a teenager. They are going to university. Now you're starting to have this fear of, did I teach them enough? Did I impart enough values and beliefs into them for them to be able to function in the outside world? Because the independence continues to get higher and higher with every stage, right? So you are now watching them go into the world, and you just have to trust and believe that you did the best that you could for them to be well-adjusted people in the said world. Okay. And then now we're moving from uni, they're becoming young adults, they're becoming proper adults now. And now they're starting to even bring back their spouses home. Like I said, it's a cycle. It's a cycle. You did that, and now it's your turn. It's a turn for your child to do that. And it continues to go and go and go and go. And you can even have like the fear of like, will they bring a partner who aligns with our family? Will they pick a job that we want? You know, because unaenda unakuwa msanii and then your parent is like, how dare you? Like, how am I supposed to go and tell the village wedding msanii? What are you doing? You know? Here's the thing. Because in this story, I like to say I have a couple spanners to throw in the works. Here is the spanner in the works. Imagine having kids spread across different ages. So you're dealing with all of this at the same time. Okay, there is the child who is now bringing their spouse back home now, apparently ni mrasta, and that doesn't go with your family. And then you have the child who is a teenager and they're just sneaking out right, left, and center. You have to deal with that, and then you ended up maybe having like a caboose baby, and now you are still doing the whole winning situation. And you know, this dynamics are very different. I'm not saying that's how they're going to be, because even when they end up in the same age bracket, there are still things that you have to deal with, because again, the kids are not the same. They have different personalities. So their ability to cater to each and every child according to their personality, according to your capacity, and still making sure that you are a healthy parent, so that they don't have to go to therapy later on in life and talk about it all started when my mother used to kick me every day, you know? Yeah. So so now again, what I wrote is, imagine having to do all that and still trying to be a decent human being, a good partner, a good sister, a good citizen, build a career, drink enough water, work out, sleep 8 hours, rewire your subconscious, break general patterns or generational patterns. Autocorrect way. Generational patterns, hold yourself accountable, live, love, laugh. Help. Send help. And also another spanner that we can throw in the works is, once again, having a healthy child is also very much a privilege, because imagine being the parent to a child with special needs or mental health struggles or even just terminal illness. That means that you, as the caregiver, your quality of life changes just as much as theirs change, because you are very much in charge of them, right? Parenting, it's a fun little story. Now we're gonna come back, we're gonna reverse and go back to the main road where we were at. Okay, we were still in generativity versus stagnation. So your life has been moving. Okay, at this point, maybe if you started a business, you're a CEO by now. Like ideally, career wise, you have been moving, and then now we are getting to integrity versus despair. This is like when you're getting to like 65 plus, because again, like I said, having kids, like you're in charge of this person for like 20 years of your life. So if we got into generativity versus stagnation at like 30, 40, obviously by the time you are finishing the whole parenting thing, you are around 60. So integrity versus despair, you're really just having a lot of self-reflection. Like, did my life matter? Did I do what I needed to do? Did I pursue the career that I wanted? Did I get the partner that I was hoping to get? You know, like, did my life turn out how I hoped it would? And also, this is where also you have been an empty nester for a while, because also being an empty nester has its own challenges, because for the longest part, and this tends to happen a lot, is when you become a parent. Why am I saying it like I am a parent? But when you become a parent, a big part of your identity becomes your kids. So when they have become old enough to not necessarily like need you on a daily basis. By need you, I mean like being at your like, help me with this, help me with that, you know, it can really affect your identity. And that's part of what we're saying. There are different conflicts in every stage. Is you can now start asking yourself, like, what am I worth if I am not taking care of my children? What am I worth if I'm not taking them to games, if I'm not taking them to school, if I'm not cooking for them, if I'm not doing this and this? Because, you know, as an empty nester, that means your child is living their own life separately. Yes, they can call you and all that. You can meet on a social level, but on these physical levels, like, they can do that for themselves. Like, that's perfectly fine. So that's part of the conflict. Now we have gone through the different stages. You can also like look into them further if you would like to get a better understanding. When it comes to the conclusion, what are we thinking? How are we feeling after talking about all these conflicts that we faced in all these different life stages? And yes, there were criticisms to his theories, because people are talking about how it is very vague. Like, what do you mean? You just get from this stage to another, and you just jump from one conflict to another. Which is why I was saying that they very much mesh into each other. Because again, let me tell you guys, I watched Love is Blind it's never too late. And it's basically, it's for people who are at the age of 50 plus. Yes, it's for 50 plus. 50 plus, yes. And I came to realize there is a lot of ageism, to be honest, because like I have said, the final stage of integrity versus despair, like the 65 plus, we're talking about a lot of self-reflection. Like you have settled down, you have done everything that you needed to do, and now you are setting down in, like, it's the sunset days, so to speak, for lack of a better word. Okay. And I didn't realize how much ageism there is until I watched Love is Blind, It's Never Too Late, because I kept thinking, like, something kept bugging me until I came to realize, oh, this is it. Because these people are trying to find love at the age of what? 50 plus. And my head keeps thinking, aren't you supposed to be chilling? Aren't you supposed to be on the porch and people watching and all of these things? It's the fact that we have been programmed to believe that the forming of bonds and forming of connections, and in this case, in this concept of Love is Blind, finding a romantic partner is supposed to be done very much early on in life so that you can keep it moving with them. Like you get old together, you grow old together. So for them to come up with this concept of them finding love when they're already older, when they're already in a stage where essentially where you're not supposed to be finding love, it's mind-boggling. It gets you a little bit. It gets you thinking. I'm like, what are we doing? Conclusion is, why do you think I chose this angle of adulting is hard? Because there are perks to adulting, that's for sure. There are positive things that come with adulting, but I just wanted to look at it from the aspect of what are the challenges that we tend to face in it. Okay, just because I've made this video does not mean that I do not acknowledge the good things. Actually, you know what, let's acknowledge them. Okay, number one, I really like how our generation and the younger millennials have really taken the whole aspect of having free will to another level. Like every other day on TikTok, I just be seeing the most random stuff. Like someone has, I don't know, a toy gun and it removes bubbles. Another one has bought these little miskis, like these two little replicas of people that you just put all over your house. Others have, like, someone had a whole royalty chair, like a chair for a queen. And I was just like, you know what, you're right. We don't really use our free will as much as we should. It's the ability to understand that there is freedom that comes with being an adult. We need to take a hold of that and run with it. Number two is, I would say, just agency, autonomy, being able to do the things that you want at the time that you want, and to even now you're choosing friends. Like I said, adult friendships are something else. So now you are really picking these friends. These are the people that I really want to spend my life with. You know how when we were kids, we used to like get pitted with other kids because your parents are friends and now we're supposed to be friends. Now you get to choose the people that you want. If there are people who are having toxic patterns, you get to be away from them. That's the agency part. Then we have the self-knowledge. It's just self-awareness. It's knowing, this is how I function, this is how I function best, and this is how I'm going to go about things, and this is how I like things getting done. We also have just deeper relationships. They are more intentional because, again, you also understand how you function, and you also understand what now you want in life, and you're able to now go after it in whichever sector that we spoke about in the wheel of balance as we started the video. The pride of provision as well. You know how bachelors start in like a bed sitter, alianza na mattress, and then kidogo akona wall unit, and then akona TV, and then akona fridge. Ivo pole pole, it's that pride in provision that you are able to get better and to get more things for yourself over a period of time. Another conclusion that I have is, it's also a good thing that if you're lucky, point stress, you are not necessarily like thrown into adulting immediately. It's a soft launch because you're moving from, again, let's go back to middle school, and then you're becoming a teenager. Then they start telling you, you know, adulting. And then you move from being a teenager, and then you go to high school. You are a teenager in high school. You go to uni. Now you're a young adult, and then you start taking care of things slowly. You don't just wake up and you're paying bills. You know, you don't just wake up and, you know, I don't know, you have a family to take care of. It's a soft launching kind of situation. But then again, there is a flip side to it, because it means that in this life we are forever going through transitions, which means that there is a lot of change that is happening. There is a lot of confusion that comes with change, and by the time you're getting used to a certain stage, you're already moving to another stage before you hack this stage, which is why we have these videos on YouTube of things I wish I knew when I was 20, things I wish I knew when I was, because you have transitioned, and now in hindsight you know more than you did when you're starting up in that stage, and now you wish you had that information when you are in it, which is what makes life also a bit challenging, or just challenging. Let me stop sugarcoating it and calling it a bit challenging. That's what makes life challenging is that you'll also just learn as you go. Sometimes you don't necessarily have, like, there is no manual to life. You don't get born and they tell you, all right, these are the factors you have in this life, and this is how you're supposed to go about it, and this is what you should avoid. No, you figure it out as you go. You just look back in retrospect, you realize, oh my God, I should have done this better. I should have done that better. It is, so yes, it's difficult because you are trying to become in a world that requires you to already be. Oh, preach. You are trying to become in a world that already requires you to be. You are building the plane while you are flying it. And also, it's very important to acknowledge that every stage of life is difficult in its own way. You see how you get older and you're like, wow, being a child was so much better. Or you get older and you're like, wow, I wish I was a teenager again. That's not true. I don't wish I was a teenager again. There was too much confusion in that state. Too much was going on. Okay. Every age has its own things that you need to conquer. So thinking that an age was better than the other one is not necessarily true. Yes, it still looks better because as a child, I'm like, damn, I miss watching Jambo Junior. Jambo Junior. What was it called? Club Kiboko. Guy, yesu. Yeah, because right now I look back at my life and I'm like, I miss just watching Club Kiboko and going outside to play mnacheza kati and then siku imeisha. That was a great time. But that doesn't mean that I didn't go through some difficult moments in there. There are times I will wake up and my mom has picked for me some random ass dress that looks horrific for Sunday, and I'm like, God, I can't wait to pick things for myself. I can't. What is this? What in the ghetto is going on? But yeah, overall, adulting is a very, very funny concept, and it's not funny, haha. That's not what I would say, but it's quite something to behold. And here's the thing, again, I'll just finish this video by saying, we have all seen that picture. I'll even input it there. That picture where it's like, nothing matters. Like someone is looking at the rock in the bus. They're looking at the rocky side and like nothing matters. And then someone has like the valley side and it's looking very sunny. It's like nothing matters. That's the thing with adulting, is the statement that you get to build your own life depends on how you want to interpret it. Because you can think of it of, you get to write your own script. Like, you're telling me I'm in charge of all of these things. Or you can be like, you get to make your own script because I can do what I want. Yes, there are pressures that come with life and society and family and being in relation with other people, but you really can do what you want.